Advisory Council and is active on 2 national task force groups with the Association of Equipment Manufacturers and the Equipment Dealer Association. She is recently appointed executive member of the Dream It, Do It. And Deb has been instrumental in setting up this regional apprentice program at Claas. She is certainly passionate about programs like this. And I will make a comment. If Deb had not been here, we probably would not be sitting here. So with that, Deb, thank you very much for giving us service. Mark Zundum is the president and CEO of Grapo North America. Grapo is the global manufacturer of perforated metal products, of which we use quite a few. Mark founded Grapo North America in Omaha in 2006 and was instrumental in making it a key supplier for agricultural, construction equipment manufacturers, as well as many automotive industry players. Bill Owen is the Vice President for Strategic Initiatives at the Metropolitan Community College. MCC is the second largest post-secondary institution in the state and delivers workforce-relevant, student-centered educational programs. Bill supervises several departments at the college and assists with the president with government and community relations. We welcome you all to the board. Deb, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. I'm having a microphone that doesn't work. There. Got it. So to keep pushing the on button multiple times. Thank you, Mari. This is pretty exciting. And panel members, thank you so much for taking your time out of your busy days and weeks to join us. And why are we talking about this? Obviously, we all have a lot in common here. We know today there are over 500,000 manufacturing jobs open. The number of job openings exceeds the number of applicants. Deloitte and the Manufacturing Institute have been studying this for 17 years, and I just can't resist myself. But I made sure that there's copies out here. This is a great think piece. For those of you that are interested and you want to read a little bit more about this, fascinating research. So I recommend this research for you. But this study reveals that the skilled labor shortage is only going to get worse. 2.4 million positions will go unfilled in the next 10 years. That means, said another way, 53 out of 100 positions will lie vacant due to the skilled shortage. 53 out of 100. So this is why we're talking about it. I'm excited to hear from these experts who understand how important it is to address this today. And obviously we've heard that it's been going on for many years. We've been talking about this and working on this. And I'll be asking the panel members for comments, but we absolutely want to open it up to the audience. So if anyone has any questions, please, as we end, we will ask the questions. So Mark, we'll start with you. Addressing the workforce shortage skills would take more than one initiative. You started with that initiative, a registered apprenticeship program. So would you tell us a little bit about what is the most valuable lesson that you've learned, and also what was your biggest surprise?
Well, thank you, Deb, and thank you to all the panelists and speakers that we had already here. So you hear a little bit from my accent, it's German, so you see a lot of German flags, which is great. Yeah, Germans tend to know everything better, but they don't. So I've lived here 12 years in Nebraska, so I can give you several examples. That's not always the case. Anyways, we have a great apprenticeship system over in Germany, and I was fortunate enough to go through this dual study or apprenticeship program over in Germany. I'm the living example for that it's working. Right from an apprentice to a CEO of a company. So must be a pretty good program. And we have many examples in our company that have advanced and that we supported over the years in programs. But what are the basic challenges here? We've heard a lot from the governor. We heard about unemployment challenges. We heard about skills gap, and I don't want to repeat that all. This is what companies facing here right now, and it's increasing, and we have this huge gap of hundreds of thousands of workers positions that we cannot fill. So we've taken, as a small company, many initiatives to train in-house, but it's all so far pretty limited to what we can do as a small company in the environment. I really appreciate that we have the support of the governor and that we have the support of so many entities right now to set up an apprenticeship program like this. The German one is a very good one. I'm a firm believer in it, but we're going to tweak it to the way we need it to be here. So that's also important to know. So I think we're on a very good track. We're very excited to start this. But it takes companies. It takes companies like Glaspaper to make the first step to get going. And we see other companies here like Finland that have done a tremendous job of doing the same, first of all, facing the same issues. And we just, for any representatives that we have here in the audience or other companies, we're just reaching out, please come to us and let's make this work and make sure we increase the quality of our workforce.
Great, thank you, thank you. Next question to John. John, it was really interesting for you to mention the partnerships in your remarks earlier, and Deloitte would support that only 2 out of 10 manufacturers actually partner with the government, and only 3 out of 10 manufacturers and businesses will partner with training and education, private education. I was talking to some colleagues earlier, and they mentioned that they're afraid to even consider an apprenticeship program for someone 17 years old, for fear of if anything were to happen to that worker from a safety standpoint. So a lot of manufacturers are very hesitant to bring, the youth initiative program or any other programs in, just for fear of any consequences if anything were to happen. So would you mind sharing maybe any recommendations that you have for businesses to partner with the government, or any programs that you think businesses could take care of or could take advantage of?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. I guess I kind of came on to the issue of the 17-year-olds in the workplace or 16-year-olds in the workplace kind of early on when I was commissioning labor. I was meeting with a group in Beatrice, and the manufacturers said, we got great kids in Beatrice, they graduate from high school and they're off elsewhere going to community college or college without ever even knowing what we do here at our facilities. And they said, is there any way in the world that we can get these kids on the work site? Because they don't even know what we do, because we, as was mentioned by one of the speakers earlier, we have everything from the line technicians to the legal department to the accounting department, all sorts of engineers that all work with everything the plan. The kids leave town without ever knowing we're there. So part of the good and bad of being a lawyer, but I kind of hadn't looked at the issue before, and it's like, yeah, there's some exceptions out there. So I put my legal team in the department onto it. And for those of you that, and probably all of you, that are subject to OSHA regulations, you realize that OSHA's got its list of, I believe it's 18 hazardous occupations. And within that list of 18 hazardous occupations, it's the child labor laws from U.S. law say you can't put kids in any of these 18 hazardous occupations. But remembering that, there are exceptions to that. And one of them, the one that we started with, was the work-based learning programs in Beatrice with the Department of Education. So we went through and we created a template for employers that were and schools that were interested in creating work-based learning programs for the 16 and 17-year-olds so they could get exposed to the workplace. When we were looking at that, one of the issues with the work-based learning was some of the companies wanted to keep the kids on during the summer, and work-based learning is kind of limited to a core credit type of situation. And so we started looking at all the exceptions said, or apprenticeship, or apprenticeship, or apprenticeship. And so we said, okay, so maybe we need to set the wheels in motion to lay the groundwork for employers to create youth apprenticeships. And that's why we were excited when we finally got one up and running in Grand Island. Like I said, it's now expanded from 1 employer to 6. I think it's working. In fact, that we're talking one school to 9, and I think we'll have several more at the end of the year so that we can meet that. So I have a great workforce coordinator. We just promoted to some other job, but he gets to keep apprenticeship coordinator besides Scott Asmus, who's here in the crowd today, who works hand in glove with the U.S. Department of Labor. If you are interested in creating a youth apprenticeship program or a regular apprenticeship program, dial 1-800-SCOTT. We'll get you there. So we are absolutely willing to work with them. We've been working using some of our WIOA training dollars, Workplace Innovation and Opportunity Act funds, to help some employers in Northeast Nebraska create a apprenticeship program for the business. So that's another opportunity. Within our worker training board, we have supported apprenticeship programs. Most of those funds so far have gone through the trades, the union trades. It's not limited to that. It's just they were the first ones to step up to the plate because, as most of you know, the union workers who go into training, they go to an all-day training session, and the employer doesn't pay them because they didn't do anything for the employer that day. So we've tried to supplement that through a stipend program for those apprentices. So if they're in training that day, for each day they're in training, we give them 1/5 of what would have been the weekly benefit amount for unemployment, and that's through the worker training program. That is one of only many programs that are available through the worker training program. And also, I mentioned before, we have an absolutely outstanding community college system, and some of them are here today from Metro or from Central Community College, and they can and will be willing to create apprenticeship programs with you. And so I guess 1-800-SCOTT, actually 471-9000, is a good number to start with because Scott will coordinate the activities from there on out. But so if you have an interest, you don't have to have a lot of expertise to get one set up because Scott has done a pretty good job of laying down the templates. And so if you're interested, you just basically need to come to us and tell us what your goal is, and we'll work with Deb and ICAT or anyone else that's interested in the apprenticeship program and help you get from where you are to where you want to be. So I probably got to move my time slots.
Nope, that's fine. We got plenty of time. Plenty of time.
Anyway, those are some of the programs that we have. I heavily encourage you to contact us. As I said earlier in my remarks, government is not the solution. However, employers are the solution, and we can help them achieve the goal that they're aiming for.
Thank you, John. And this is not the Department of Labor of the 50s and 60s. It is absolutely not. This is a true partnership, and we really appreciate the partnerships we've had with your office, John. Mark, next question. What is the GACC's, what is your plan in introducing the German-style apprenticeship programs in the U.S., and how can you help companies do this? As I understand, you're the godfather of this.
A little bit of it was born out of some ideas that really are numbers needs. If you look at the latest numbers, 87% of our companies say their single largest challenge is finding workforce. Yesterday, my friend over at Plant Engineering Magazine thought no surprise, the number one issue in his survey that companies face is finding workforce. The big thing this year, it was bigger than number 2, 3, and 4 combined as plant engineering's concerns for their plans. So our team in Chicago is growing. This used to be my spare time project that I just kind of did on the side, but very quickly we recognized we got our first group of 7 companies on board, and it's been going ever since. That now we have staff of 10 and growing in our office in Chicago, just dedicated to apprenticeship. So it's been a challenge for us to keep up with the growth. Every year we've been doubling the number of companies in the program. But really where the work comes in is helping fill a lot of those gaps, working with the companies to create training plans. A lot of these companies have never really approached it from this, hey, now I have an apprentice that's on a 3-year program. How do I balance what I need them to do on work with making sure they're developing the skills they need?
how do you align that then with a community college curriculum so that what they're learning in school applies to what they're learning in the company? With that, trainer programs. Most of the workers on the plant floor have never had to really train somebody else other than maybe some basics, but how do you approach that from a larger mindset? They need to go to school to be teachers. So we have a trainer program that's based on a lot of the know-how from Germany to do that, and best practices, bringing the companies together so they can share their ideas. What worked in one company will work in another company, and even if it's not producing the same widget, the same product, at the end of the day, how do they share those experiences? We organize trips back and forth to Germany, so a lot of German companies have the luxury that their staff in Germany can come over and say, well, this is how we do it, and then we'll adapt it here for the U.S. The American companies a lot of times don't have that resource, so our team, Stephanie Enders, is down here, has helped set up some of those delegations, going to the training plans. Joshua Seaver, where's Joshua? One of the top guys in the room, way in the back. Joshua's one who was out here yesterday too, working with Fox and Grapeville of how are we going to, or how are they going to create these training plans. And again, the big piece of that is high standards. Set that bar high because these are career paths. This isn't just something I need somebody to do next month or next year. This is a pathway of a foundational learning that's going to last throughout a career. And those standards that are important. Also building a workforce that if you have a lot of companies training to the same standards in the same area, one company may do really well and starts hiring, another company may not be doing so well, but you have a constant build of that workforce in that community that's going to be growing over time. So that's the other piece where we get involved, really to go beyond just quote-unquote the German companies. Because if it's only the German companies doing this, we're never going to reach the potential. That's why these consortium approaches, I love it the way our approaches say, how do we get groups of schools, groups of community colleges with those companies that are going to drive the change. And that's what we're working to build in each of these locations where we have clusters right now.
Thank you. Thank you. Before the next question, I'd like to acknowledge that Governor Ricketts has another appointment. And did you have any parting words or anything you'd like to say before you leave, Governor Ricketts?
This is a great program. Thank you so much to everybody who's involved in kicking this off. I'm really excited to see where this will go in the future. We want to get more companies involved, so let's go out and talk to people about it.
All right. Thank you for coming. We really appreciate it. Okay, we will continue. Our next question for Bill. Bill, Metro Community College has grown substantially in programs, and if you guys have not visited Metro recently, you're really missing something. It is something special. It really is how you've grown and developed. What programs do you offer to employers to upskill talent and find talent?
It's a long list, so I'm going to take a deep breath and read some of these things from the list. But I'd like to start by saying, oftentimes on a professional panel like this, and I'm very happy to be here, I'm the only former apprentice. So today I have a colleague who is also a former apprentice, and I give you that information to give you some context that when you're choosing apprenticeship, you're not making an either-or choice. There's still a university path open to you if that's how you choose to progress in your career. So let me start, and you mentioned investment in career and technical education for Metro on our Fort campus recently. That was a $100 million investment. Career Education Center, Center for Advanced and Emerging Technology, and Construction Education Center. Shameless plug, we'll provide tours of those centers at 2 o'clock this afternoon. See me if you need directions when this concludes. But those complement programs we've had for a long time. We have some very robust apprenticeship programs, but we don't register the apprenticeship programs. The employers register the apprenticeship programs. We provide the education and training. We've had an electrical and plumbing apprenticeship program for more than 30 years. Currently, more than 200 students engaged. We also provide the ongoing training and certification that electricians need after they complete apprenticeship. So those programs are in place. Maybe
Really growing out of this initiative is more of the company-based apprenticeships that we provide plenty of opportunity for companies to partner with the college. And those are apprenticeships that an individual company sets up. They set the context, they choose the courses. Sometimes that's a full associate degree, which is advantageous if you're a student like me that decides to go on from apprenticeship and you've gone to a community college for that apprenticeship, you have transferable credits. So that's something for companies to keep in mind. We also have cooperative training agreements with the union apprenticeship programs. So students in our apprenticeship program can get time waived if they decide to go that route. And those that have completed the union apprenticeship and one of the trade unions can get credit towards their associate degree by bringing proof of that credential to us. Educational for-credit programs, I won't go through the whole list, but those related to industrial and manufacturing, transportation, and construction might be of most interest to this audience, and I'll just leave it to say that alphabetically we have them from architecture to welding, with many in between. We also currently run 25 high school academies, most of those on our campuses, a few of those embedded in the high schools, and those are opportunities for students who say, I think I might have an interest in manufacturing or a construction trade, to come to us while they're still in high school. Even if they don't and they're not ready to be in your workplace, they can get a flavor for what that's like in a workplace-created lab environment. We also have built, I mentioned, a Center for Advanced and Emerging Technology where we house our Workforce Innovation Division. And I'm just going to rattle off some of the things that are going to spur questions from you that you can contact me for follow-up. So in our Workforce Innovation Division, we provide corporate workforce training, as you would imagine. We run the National Career Readiness Certificate and have helped our community become a work-ready community by providing basic skills training for people just entering the workplace. We've run partnership grants with U.S. Department of Labor. Proto and Credit come to mind as grant opportunities. Our partner, Heartland Workforce Solutions, to on-road people to careers, get them the basic skills that we hear everyone needs, and then connect them with your industry. Career advancement, corporate team building, industry credentialing, digital badging, prototyping and a prototype design lab, and earn and learn programs matching students to employers. Those not only happen in the credit programs, but they happen in our Workforce Innovation Division. So there is a long list, and that truly is an invite for 2 o'clock this afternoon to come see some of these programs on the Fort campus. I will kind of hover as this concludes today and provide people with directions or any other information they might like to add.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Phil, I could have listened to you for hours, seriously. Berlin has done so many things, and they are so known. You are known absolutely for your progressive thinking and finding talent and encouraging talent and training people. TR has done a great. TR was, I believe, the godfather of the Dream It, Do It. Was he one of the original founders?
Yeah.
Yes. So maybe she. Yes, she really does do all the work, I do know that. Berlin, again, you've done so many things, and even in a smaller community. So would you share with us maybe the most effective strategies that you found in finding and in cultivating your talent?
Yeah, it just sort of depends on the day or the week or the month, because we have a lot of people that consider retiring, and when they talk to HR and they go to Social Security and they get all this feedback, then they say, I don't really have a hobby, so what am I going to do with myself? And I don't want to stand out on the floor all day running a punch press or welding. I want to do something a little different. So some of those people we've actually moved into security in our guard shacks and just found different roles for them. Maybe they're better inspectors, or they can help us educate some younger people. So that's one. The apprenticeship program is just outstanding. Our experience with that, starting with 2, and what we hear about is the 2 kids were walking in the halls at Columbus High, and people were asking them, hey, you want to go do something after school? And they said, no, I got to go out to Balaam. And then he asked, why are you going out to Balaam? Well, I'm in an apprenticeship. So what does that entail? So they went on a little story, and all of a sudden, hey, I might be interested in that. So, like I said, we're up to 9 kids that are between, either juniors or seniors, and they're going to have a lot of experience at Balaam before, and hopefully through a community college or some other event. If they start full-time at Balaam, we will pay for tuition to go to the community college to get their degree. So we do tuition reimbursements, and there's been some real home runs with that, and it's just all kinds of different initiatives, and you just never know which ones are going to be the best. So, and it depends on people. That manufacturing day, to tell you the truth, when we first started manufacturing day and doing tours of the plant, I said, how is this going to really help us? I really debated, and if you listen to kids in schools today, they're excited, and it's not just the high schools, it's 7th and 8th graders. They're excited to come, not just to Balaam, but to Beckman Dickinson or Vichet or one of the other plants in Columbus. They get to spend a little bit of time finding out about manufacturing. And it's not all bad to find out that some kids hate it. They go through the plant and say, I don't want to work here. And that's great. Because then we won't bother with that. And we'll focus on the ones that do love it. So those are the kinds of things that we've learned over the years that, the more exposure you get, and not necessarily having somebody like me go talk to a bunch of kids, but getting the ambassadors to talk to kids, that gets your attention a lot better.
Thank you.
And by the way, if John said something about a poli-sci major, we would love to hire all the poli-sci majors as long as they're willing to learn how to weld.
Okay. The next one will be for Commissioner Alban.
One of the hurdles potentially for employers accepting an apprenticeship is the cost. And we bear the cost of college, and Phil just spoke about the tuition reimbursement, and that is a concern for employers. What is the administration, what can the government, what could anyone do to help employers defer the cost of some of these apprenticeships? Are there any programs available to us as employers?
Actually, I touched on a little bit. One, basically, Scott's a mentor. Scott asked us when you have an employer contacts him, is just tell me where you want to go and I'll get you there. He'll line you up with the intermediaries and reduce costs as you go up. A lot of the work, I think, Scott doesn't work for free, but he doesn't charge the employer. So a lot of the groundwork gets laid that needs to be, and negotiations with USL, if you go the registered apprenticeship route, Scott takes care of that for you, and he's got it down pretty much to a template right now, so he can get you from A to Z a lot faster than you might expect. We've done some other things with to help employers. There's one employer in Northeast Nebraska, they were studying how to create an apprenticeship program and really didn't know where to go, so we're working with a vendor that they've got to subsidize the cost of the creation of that apprenticeship program up there. That's a really exciting one in terms of just in social policy, because they're an employer that emphasizes hiring released offenders and inmates. So with our worker training program, we've supplemented apprenticeship training by paying the stipends to employers, or to the workers in the past, which helps the employers because it helps for that connection. And I think I'll probably talk about it more later, but one of the things that's really great about the apprenticeship program is the fact that it keeps employees there. I think Scott would tell you the last official statistic was 87% of those employees who have completed the apprenticeship program are still there at the 3-year mark after that. And when you're fighting turnover and replacing the brilliant people like me, because they maybe don't stay on as a position with the company, we can create that, help to create that pipeline coming through.
Okay, thank you. Mark? Over here, Mark's on the, I'm sorry. Pick a mark. What do you see as the biggest barrier to, as a business in Nebraska, hiring skilled talent? And what strategies have you used to counter this?
Yeah, the biggest barriers that we see on the labor market is really, we just need this skill set that is kind of between your high school degree that has worked in different roles and, the guy that has gone to college. We can find a lot of people that have a college degree, a 4-year degree, and in all kinds of professions. So I never have really big issues filling office positions or other positions, but we really need the hands-on guys that come out of the community colleges. So community colleges, it has been a good path for us to go through, but they just don't grow on trees, right? They just have to, we can't just pick and choose. They're really hard to find. So that's why we're, just with all the other employees are really, pushing to find ways to find programs, how we can, find people, make manufacturing attractive and so on and so forth, because that's another big issue, and many of us have addressed the issue that how do we make sure that manufacturing becomes interesting, exciting again, and we have to show those kids, those robots, the technology that's out there. It's not pushing a button anymore and doing the same thing over and over again. The people that we had here in Omaha through intern Nebraska program, or we had a gentleman that started for us as a welder and said, one day he came up to me and said, sorry Mark, I have to tell you that I have to quit because I want to become a mechanical engineer. I said, whoa, wait a minute. He said, you're not going anywhere. So I basically made a deal with him and said, well, you go, what do you want to do? He said, I want to get my basic credits and natural. He did that. We supported him, had him work 30 hours at our company the rest of his time. He studied at Metro, got his basic credits, then advanced to UNL, and he's now a mechanical engineer and one of our top project managers right now. So this is kind of the people that we're looking and we want to retain. With offering those programs, I'm pretty sure we get as an industry and as an employer more attractive to do that. And it's not really limited to manufacturing only. I mean, look at Germany, we do that in the industry across the board. I mean, of course, we need the accountant, the sales guy, we need everybody else that makes the company work. And my vision is, or my dream is that 10 years from now, we have also apprenticeship in every aspect. Greater in Germany right now has about 700 employees. 10% of our employees, 70, are every year in apprenticeship programs. And we hire most of them all. And of course, there's good years and bad years. Sometimes we take them all, sometimes we don't. And it's an example for what Mark said earlier. We're committed to do that. We're not able to take them every time, all the time, but then at least we're strengthening the workforce, and other companies benefit from it, or the other way around. If everybody does its share and gets in there, we will all benefit from it eventually.
Thank you. I think it's interesting what you said, well, a lot of things interesting what you said, but the fact that you refused to say no and you got creative. And I think as an employer, I've been doing this more years than I will admit to any of you, how many years I've been doing this, but I'm learning the older I get, the more I need to change. And I need to get more creative as a business person. I need to be thinking about things that I used to say no to, and I need to start thinking, well, maybe. Or what can we do differently, and how can we approach the situation differently? There's always been a problem finding labor. In my entire career, I remember belly aching about trying to find good help, but it's different now. It's a lot more intense, and it's something that, again, the older I get, the more I find I'm the one that needs to change. So I really appreciate your story and saying that you just refused to say, go ahead. Let's go to Mark Tompkins next. Mark, what are the main hurdles that you experience when you set up these programs for companies?
I think you just,
Did our microphone die?
No?
Okay.
No, I think you just hit one of the key points in these hurdles is finding those companies that are willing to be forward-thinking and not just always do the things the way we've always done. And there's that old maxim about, keep doing this, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting things to change. But really, it's finding those forward-thinking companies in colleges that want to try a new way of doing things. Now, just hearing the list of things that Metro's doing here are impressive. It's not every college we work with that has that mentality. So, across states, I'll guarantee you, we walk into so many colleges and say, no, we're not going to do that. And that's part of that, and then marrying that up. We have other colleges that say, hey, I'd love to do this. Well, we need to get your employers on board, and so you need both. And marrying those up and finding those who are willing to do things in a new way. And then you got to have the outreach to those young apprentices that they've never heard of anyone doing this before either, usually. And their parents haven't. And I'll tell you, one of the big things is getting mom in to see the workplace. And so it's not just saying, hey, we're going to have a class come out and see the production facility. I'm sure you guys have stories of it as well. You get mom there and go, why do you paint the walls white? This isn't what I imagined, because that dark, dirty, dangerous mentality of what manufacturing was maybe 30, 40 years ago is basically not the case anymore, particularly for the forward-thinking companies that are high-tech manufacturers. That's a good place to be. And so getting that hurdle over mom, one of our big things has been, let's get her out there, let's get the parents into the facility to see that. And then once you have those first kids go through, they become your ambassadors. They go back to their high school classes and say, I got a full ride on this deal. They're paying for my school, I have money in my pocket, I can go buy new stuff, I'm not in debt. And once you have the kids going back to their high school classes and the guidance counselors then start to hear about this too, like, wait, that's a better deal than I thought of. And so then it starts to snowball, and then you have application rates in the apprenticeship programs, where you can get 4 and 10 times the number of applicants for one open apprenticeship, and then you're getting that quality you want for this high-skilled career path. So it really starts to build on it. Okay, I have to watch out for the button on the bottom. And the world is changing. I grew up in Iowa, my dad was born here in Omaha, and the farm kids, this is like heaven for me. I used to call around and combines at our neighbor on a silage implement yard for tractors and combines. Those kids aren't necessarily just out there in the workforce right now. So how do we create these alternate ways of entry to get them excited about being a career they haven't thought about in the past? So really those three, and then who's the glue? Who's going to hold this together and do the follow-up, continue to bring them together, work through challenges, because we've had companies and colleges and they're both great partners, but there's disagreements sometimes, and who can be that mediator in between, especially since most companies don't look at it and say, hey, I don't usually deal with these colleges. That's a different world for me. And they're busy doing their own business. So having someone like our team that can go in and help navigate through and make sure people stay on track and on time and getting the recruiting done and set up the days where you can invite the students in, it's bringing all those pieces together.
Okay, thank you. You make me think of, this is not an original thought, but something that I think about a lot is, over the years I've had a lot of executives and business people tell me, what if I train them and they quit? Has anyone ever heard that? They're so afraid if I train them then they're going to quit. And again, not an original thought is, what if you don't train them and they stay? So it sticks with me because I think about that, because if you don't develop your people and they stay, that's worse. That is absolutely, now the idea is if you continue to train and develop them, that they will stay. But thinking about that, the next question is for Phil. So, headlines, I report, Deloitte reports, everybody talks about this skilled labor shortage, but there are some experts that claim that it's really not a skill shortage, it's all about upskilling your current workforce. So Phil, maybe tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are on that. Do you think Are you seeing a labor shortage where you are? And what do you think about upskilling your current workforce?
Well, I think everybody sees the labor shortage. I don't know anybody that doesn't. We choose to deal with it in a different way. I think getting upset and yelling and saying, we got to figure out a way to get more people here is not going to solve a lot of problems. A long time ago, we actually could. We will take a good welder that walks in the front door, we will hire them. We also have more of an open door policy with good welders, like you said. What if you train them and they quit? What we find a lot of times is we train them and they quit, and then they come back. And they're almost more loyal than the people that never left in the first place. So if you keep an open mind and you don't get mad because somebody took advantage of you or whatever, however you're thinking about it, those types of things are really important. Not as lucky on and I hate to say this, I'm glad the governor's on, but not as lucky on the detailing or the drafting part for our building business, because we have had a shortage for a long time. We have actually worked with a company out of India to do some detailing and drawing, so there's probably about 10 jobs that we've exported because we just couldn't find them. So if anybody does see people that can use AutoCAD or draw or detail, we certainly want to get those jobs back in the U.S.
Absolutely.
But it's important to share that sometimes you have to stay in business. I mean, we have 950 partners in progress that work at Balin, and we want to save those jobs. And if we can't take a building order because we don't have the detailers, then other jobs are at jeopardy. So we do everything we can. And that's right now, fortunately, about the only situation where we are doing that type of thing. So, as we develop, we want to encourage people to consider a job at Balin not as a job, but as a career. And hopefully they're looking for the next steps. And we do job postings and we accept bids from anybody, even if they don't think they're qualified. And then we can have a discussion with those people and say, well, what do you want to do with your career? And here's some educational opportunities. And we do tuition reimbursement for those people. So, and we've been fortunate, I'd say, in the last 2 or 3 years. There have been some people that we found that were working in other companies or had just left a company, and we brought them in and they were very good fits for our culture. I think that's been very beneficial. And if you don't mind, I have to do a little advertising.
Please do.
Okay. So the Dream It, Do It program that John is coordinating in this region, Julie Thielen, raise your hand. You don't have to stand, but Julie is coordinating that with TR. And this is one of the quarterly things that we hand out or bi-monthly. And then also there's a Women in Manufacturing program that is been ongoing over the last couple of years, but they caught their second wind, and I think there's a lot of excitement about what's going on and trying to get more people, more women in manufacturing. If you're a male, you don't have to be excluded from this, but we are all about supporting what women can do in manufacturing, because that's a huge gap there. I think we only have 20% of our employees out of the 950 that are women in manufacturing. So we look at that as a huge potential opportunity. So that's all I had to say. Thanks.
Thank you. And I would say I've joined multiple workforce task force and been involved in this many years. And I would say the Dream It, Do It organization is the most active and I believe influential organization I belong to. So to my colleagues in industry, please consider getting involved with Dream It, Do It. I really believe it's a good thing that you've developed. Next question for Bill. Bill, what do you believe is the biggest barrier to employers embracing apprenticeships?
Primarily, I would say it begins with a lack of understanding. There's a lot of terms and definitions when we talk about apprenticeship. There's registered apprenticeships, industry recognized apprenticeships, company apprenticeships. Sometimes folks lump in internships and on-the-job training and helping companies understand just what we're talking about. And then clarity on what employers feel are the rules around apprenticeships. So who's responsible for tracking the hours worked and the education received, and who keeps track of those sorts of things. And frankly, a barrier for employers can be a lack of patience for partnering with their educational partner. Metro has many industry partners in the room today, and it's taken work for us to become partners, to sit down and to get to clarity about what a business needs and to make sure we get into the right area of a large institution to get them just the kind of training and education their workforce needs. To some degree in the Omaha area, when people hear apprenticeship, they think union apprenticeships, and those are very strong programs in our area, more than 100 years in existence, excellent training, most well-known in electrical, plumbing, carpentry, sheet metal, steam fitting. But apprenticeship is not synonymous with union, and although it may be in some minds. And then outside of the realm of businesses, barriers that we face on a daily basis is the inability to communicate a complete career path. I had an industrial maintenance degree, started in the manufacturing industry, and that's not what I'm doing today. But no one was able to really, at the beginning, articulate what the career path, the worst case scenario is CDL truck drivers. There's great jobs in the transportation industry. Some of those folks are represented here today, but it's a tough sell to a young person to start out riding a truck, for instance. And a couple of more points. Outside of the business world, that getting to parents that several people have mentioned. Parents often feel if they choose apprenticeship or a career and technical program, they're making an either-or choice for their child. And just to drive that point home, we've got to show ways to overcome that. And finally, because I represent the community college and it represents our student base, we hear a lot about young people not having the basic skills that they need, like essential workplace skills that we formerly called soft skills, basic math skills, basic communication skills. And as you know, as employers, those aren't always present in your aspiring workforce. But they're not skills that every young person possesses, and the gap tends to widen along lines of poverty. So whatever solutions we come up with, we need to be sure are inclusive solutions.
Thank you, Bill. Before we go to any audience questions, if we'd start with Bill, and then maybe just go down the panel, and please just mention any final comments or anything that you would like to share with the group before we open it up to questions.
Well, these are all great partners in the room today, and they aren't partners that are necessarily new to us as a college. We want to be there and be the resource, the educational resource for whatever partnership you vision in the community. And then that last shameless plug, come see us, or we'll be touring some facilities at 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Phil?
Thank you. The only thing that I would like you to consider, if you haven't heard of this yet, is the Blueprint Nebraska initiative. There's a lot of people in a lot of different areas, a lot of specialists, whether it's workforce development or manufacturing specifically. I'm involved in the industry group that's part of manufacturing, but there's an education piece. I actually spoke to some of the educators that are on the Blueprint Nebraska thing a couple months ago, and it's just a great opportunity for everybody to sort of figure out what are our priorities and how do we all stay on the same page, and how, instead of starting from scratch in certain areas, there's somebody in the state that's already thought about something. So if we can look at other resources and maybe coordinate an overall umbrella event or program, that's what I think would help us all. Because, like I said earlier, it's all about partnerships and relationships. We get so much more done by working together than by trying to get it done alone. It's not even fun. Thank you. And thanks for the opportunity.
Sure.
I think one comment I would add is, it got brought up before about retention and apprenticeship, and what we've seen is about, from the very first day of starting ICAD, roughly 85% of the apprentices who have ever started have stayed in the program. And think of most manufacturing environments, that's not the case. One big thing that people say about Germany is, well, people never leave their companies. They never learn to leave their companies because they start off, they're taken care of in an apprenticeship. And if you can keep someone past that first 3 years, their odds of staying are much higher. I think John mentioned 87%. So if you don't train a workforce to leave you that's where you're hiring from, they're more likely to stick around for the long term as well.
Okay, well, the job shortage is not a figment of anyone's imagination, just a quick statistic, or applicant shortage is probably a better way to put it. According to BLS right now, there are 28,472 Nebraskans who are actively seeking work. As of today, as of month, we had 33,601 job openings listed on our agency website, which means there are more openings than we have people who are even looking for work. But within that, there's a massive skills disconnect because we just say, okay, 28,000 I should all be employed. Well, the skills don't match up. And I think one of the things I would emphasize to employers that are looking to address that skills gap and upskill their own people is in the current administration, there's definitely a teamwork approach. If you approach somebody from DEP, if they don't have the answer, they will refer you over or partner with Department of Labor, or quite often we bring in Department of Education. And we're way behind in the apprenticeship game. West European counterparts are way ahead of us. Anywhere in Western Europe, they're far ahead of us. And one of the ways that we can close that skills gap surely best and quickest, although it's not a flip a light switch, because it takes some training, is through the apprenticeship programs. And so I can guarantee you, right now, no matter which department you call, it's education, community colleges, DED or DOL, we will find you the partnership that you need to answer your workforce need.
Yeah, yes, grateful. I'm very excited about this day today, and of course, very appreciative for the support of the different organizations that we have here. I think 5 years from now, we would not have had the resources and the structure that we have today. So it's kind of nice to see that everybody understands the need of this issue. I think we're getting more attractive as employers as we introduce those programs. So I'm really excited that we have an excellent solution with Department of Labor, with Community College, and we as Grateful are very excited about launching the ICANN program, because the ICANN program seems to be really top of the line. And we, even as a German company, we could do copy and paste and go back to our German friends and say, you know, we'll just take whatever you do and bring it over here. But ICANN knows the US, ICANN knows exactly what requirements are necessary, how to organize collaboration with community colleges, and so on and so forth. So I'm really excited about this. So we're going to start out small also with 2 apprentices, and we're going to be very excited about getting these people trained and educated. We'll keep doing that, and we'll keep building our workforce that way, and we'll grow business with that.
Great, thank you. Thank you to the panel. We'd like to open it up to anyone in the audience, and I would encourage, I know in our network we have industry partners here. We have people that are helping veterans find jobs. We have people here from college. We have workforce development people. So I would really encourage you to identify yourself, and so that afterwards when we do some networking, that the employers and you can meet together. So with that, Karen has a microphone. Any questions for any member of the panel? Over here, Karen.
I don't need a microphone. Our company is just starting our first, we're calling it a paid internship. So a question for John, is that template available even if it's not, say, a registered apprenticeship? We hope to move it that way, but as anybody in HR knows, it takes a long time to change managers' minds. What we don't want to do is start off with something that fails, and then they'll never want to do it again. So we're choosing to call it a paid internship. It's a high school student, 17 years old. But the template would be something very appealing to us if it's available just for that sort of model and not a registered apprenticeship.
We will share our template with you in a heartbeat. Just see me afterward, I'll wrap up my card. the big advantage to the work-based learning or the youth apprenticeships, just as in terms of the summer work in particular, and if you happen to be one of those 10 hazardous occupations that move to non-hazardous in those. But we'd be lucky to go on that list with you, because you think of the 10 hazardous occupations and everyone would think that welding's on it, and Phil, it's not there. So there are a lot of, we'll help you walk through that minefield and point out ways that you can accommodate your and grow your apprenticeship or internship program.
You said Scott is the point of contact?
Scott's probably the best point of contact on that. He's right over there.
All I can think of is 1-800-CALL Scott.
Well, I have one more question. I forgot to introduce myself, I'm sorry. I'm Jim Walsh, I'm the recruiting director for Freightliner Truck Center Companies, who's owned by Daimler, which is a German company. And so my question for Mark Tompkins is, does your reach go, the German-American organization, your Midwest, but is there a counterpart that would include Daimler?
Certainly, and actually, our colleagues down in Atlanta, in the headquarters location there, we've had, there's a low-level apprenticeship program that they're doing in manufacturing in Alabama. So there's been a lot of discussions. Also, Detroit Diesel, which is another Daimler family company in Detroit, was one of our original Matt Square companies. It's an ICAT certified program in Michigan that we work with. So there's lots of things there. We can certainly talk about the ways forward with that. On the internship question, it's a great on-road for companies to select who they want as their ICAT apprentices. So you start them out, test them, that kind of senior year of high school, and then you can decide which ones of those students are the ones you want to invest in for the long-term apprenticeship, and to make sure that they like the fit as well. So it's a great place to start as kind of a pre-apprenticeship and then going into the long-term program.
Thank you.
I think the apprenticeship program is going to be a game changer for service technicians, really
I
do.
mean, we hope that's our new model, is hire when they're 16 and keep them for 40 years.
Any other questions, comments? Industry partners, this is a great time to identify.
I just want to say my name is Sharon Robina West. I work with veterans at the VA. I'm a community employment coordinator. I want everybody to remember not to overlook veterans, not to overlook women, not to overlook the disabled, and not to overlook those in reentry. You are missing out on a big pool if you do that. If you're interested in talking more, come see me. I'll give you my card. Thank you.
Right.
Sharon, I need you to talk to Joshua, because Joshua is the guy in our office who went through and got ICAT GI Bill certified. So returning veterans can use their GI Bill benefits within the ICAT program, so the housing allowance, et cetera else, which is a great deal for the employer, because they're coming with money that makes the whole deal much more attractive as a registered apprentice.
Okay. Any other comments, industry partners?
Hello, I'm Erin Porterfield. I serve as the Executive Director for Heartland Workforce Solutions. And now I'm louder. We serve the three-county area locally. We have the American Job Center, where we have co-located partners all geared up with dollars and resources to guide people to great job opportunities and skilling up to get there. We are a full service, not only for our career seekers, but also for businesses looking for talent. We are industry, in-demand industry preferring, and this is certainly one of those. You may know Ryan Turner, who is our board chair and king of manufacturing and go-getter, and he leads our board of directors, so you can understand where we're headed. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Ron?
This question would probably be more for Bill. For the last 10, 15 years, a lot of high schools were doing away with their technical education programs, machining technology, etc. We're no longer the agrarian society that we were 60, 70 years ago. So the opportunity for our youth to get their hands on equipment, get their hands on tools, etc., is somewhat limited. Are you seeing the high schools refreshing their views of what they need to do, or are there hurdles for them that are keeping them from, building these type of technical education programs or expanding?
There are certainly hurdles, but there are certainly a lot of good things going on in the community that I think we could help by spreading the awareness about. Most of the high schools understand the importance and also understand not all of the graduates are going on for a university degree, yet they desire a well-paying job. Omaha Public Schools representative in career and technical education is here today. Ken Spellman, raise your hand, Ken. Hi. They've made some big reinvestments in career and technical education. They have a machine program at North High School and in cooperation with Lozier Manufacturing, and Lozier is also represented in the room. So there are partners just being done differently than it was done in the past, where we were able to maybe expose all the kids to a little bit of woods, a little bit of shop. Now we have to be more purposeful with the resources that we have. Career and technical centers like at OPS. I mentioned career academies. Many high school partners who know they can't afford to put in the kind of facilities we have at the college have used as an alternative instead, a career academy partnership with the community college. My vision for, and that I share with all of our high school partners, is let's try to identify those kids that are on the career and technical path and get them the basic skills that they need. The thing we hear more than anything is like, learn to read and take notes. Let's re-emphasize those basic skills that will make them employable in a wide variety of trades. And there are many of those elements that can still be done at the high school. But the high schools get it. They have some resource issues and some space issues, and with community college partners and industry partners, I think we're on our way to overcoming those.
We also have members from the Bryan High School Trade Logistics Program here as well. Just raise your hands if you're with that program. So Bryan High School, they get it. One more question in the back, and then we'll close up.
Thanks. As the aforementioned Joshua Seaver with the ICAP program, so if you have any questions, please, I'll be parked right next to that buffet there. So, this is for John. When I go out and talk to manufacturers, one of the main questions I get is there any funding available through the state or federal? And, I refer them to the local DOL workforce board in regards to WIO and incumbent worker training. I was wondering if you could speak to that.
Yeah, in addition to the no charge work from Scott, although we still can turn the time sheet, so it isn't free, but it's free to you. We offer a ton of assistance to anyone that's interested in creating an apprenticeship through our department. Beyond that, as I mentioned earlier, with incumbent workers, it's not just we owe incumbent workers, although that's kind of an underutilized program, so please talk to us about that because it's an underserved area as far as I'm concerned in terms of utilizing the available resources. But our worker training board has done many different programs. I'm really glad for the question because it kind of gave me a segue back to the previous question, and that is in northeast Nebraska, some of our manufacturers are concerned about the ability to keep and retain a local workforce. There's a lot of small rural high schools that don't have the money and quite frankly, probably can't find the instructors to create their own industrial arts, or as well as industrial arts in 9-day program. And so in that area, there's a consortium of high schools that went together. I believe it is 8 high schools, maybe it's 10. We've gone together and along with Northeast Community College and the Wayne State College to create a new learning center for advanced manufacturing there, where they literally bus their kids into the site and have a schedule coordinated amongst 8 to 10 high schools, which is not easy to create that. In that particular instance, the Department of Labor's Worker Training Board committed $250,000 toward the purchase of the equipment to fill that site. So yeah, there are resources available there. I think I mentioned earlier, we're helping one employer pay for the cost of creating an apprenticeship program for local level. I think we're doing that through Wyoming Kaiser 10%. That's another one of our programs. Sorry to be but we have a lot of programs that serve incumbent workers and can serve youth as well. So any one of them that you become in, whether it's you call me, you call Scott, ask us, you call Stanley, you call our Director of Employment and Training, we will get you pointed in the right direction. And before it's all over, maybe draw in our friend friends from Department of Education as well, or DED, although their programs for incumbent workers tend to be a little different from ours, but we coordinate, and it's a real maximization of effort, because when I first started with the state, we were all in these little silos, and there were rumors that certain directors of certain agencies wouldn't even go in the same room with each other unless they absolutely had to, and which is craziness, but it did exist. But that's all gone now, and we have things like the Department of Education, which is being under the governor's control, it's under the state board, and nonetheless partners with us. Constantly, we help them lately when they made an application for a STEM grant that they're going to do in northeast Nebraska. I'm going to miss the name on it, so I won't even try. Kate Graham's there in the bathroom, I'm sure she can give you the exact title and verse for it. So they're working with employers up there to create apprenticeship programs. So there are a lot of resources available, and it's just ask us if we can help, and we will find a way.
Thank you, John. So we have more questions, but one more, okay.
Just a comment, Tony Blood from the Department of Education. The question about programs in high schools and all. Our biggest challenge right now is finding instructors. We have openings in a lot of schools, they can't find an instructor. Some of the schools are doing a partnership with local industry in their community, having folks from industry come in and help teach those courses. Some of them are doing it on what's called a career education permit. So there are some opportunities for industry to get involved with the schools. And in your local schools, boy, get involved and keep those programs and let the school officials know of the need that you have, and they'll be responsive to that. Also, I'll put in a shameless plug, if you haven't been to Skills USA, our state conference in Grand Island, April 12th, I believe it's Friday, April 12th. We invite you out there if you want to see skilled labor, students doing some skilled work in competitions, about 1,700 kids out there. So we invite you out to Grand Island.
Thanks, Tony. So let's continue the conversation, shall we? Maury will close out our program, but please, I encourage you to come and have some food. We've got tables set up on the other side of the combine, but thank you for your time and your attention, and thank you to the panel members. We really appreciate it.
I don't have any more words except to say thank you to everybody for coming. It's been a great day. It is a landmark for us, and I think for you, we're grateful, and for the state.